Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 4. I am Frank Cizadet, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiak. We'll take a look at the headlines. President Buhari tells outgoing envoys that democracy is still the best option. Governor El-Rufai reinstates 1,266 teachers sacked over competency test. Plus, France's President Macron counts on Xi to influence Russia on Ukraine war. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for staying with us. We begin the news this afternoon from Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has today told two outgoing ambassadors that democracy is still the best option in spite of military takeovers in some parts of Africa. The president received the two envoys at State House Abuja. There, His Excellency Executive General Kuibato of Republic of Angola and outgoing ambassador of United Arab Emirates UAE, Fahad Obiad Al Tafak. The president assured the two countries that his administration will take advantage of mutual interest and continue to improve on the existing relationships. In a statement released by the special advisor to the president, Femi Adesina, the president recalled the role Nigeria played in the liberation of Angola, noting that the country deployed its resources to help sister African nations. He underscored that in spite of military coups in some parts of the continent, democracy is still the best option. In the meantime, House of Representatives has mandated the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) to put on hold the release of 15 billion naira counterpart funding requested by the federal government, pending the approval of the Commission's budget by the House. This is after a member of the Green Chamber, Unyime Idem, moved a motion drawing the attention of the House to the federal government's request. According to the request, the Ministry of Niger Delta was to jointly finance an intervention and humanitarian program of sums running into several billions of naira, using the money recovered by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) without budgetary provisions. Lawmakers were concerned that the NDDC budget estimates for 2021, 2022 and 2023 are before the House for approval, and such requests for intervention and humanitarian proposals by the federal government without requisite financial appropriation and approval of the House would be illegal and breach of the Appropriation Act. Move to Kaduna State, where Governor Nasir El-Rufai has announced the reinstatement of 1,266 primary school teachers who were sacked in June 2022 of a competency test organized by the government. The Kaduna State Universal Basic Education Board, KATSUBEB, announced this in a statement issued by its public relations officer, Hawa Muhammad. In a statement, Muhammad explained that the teachers are to immediately collect their reinstatement letters from their respective education secretaries. And while some teachers who were victims of kidnapping or involved in accidents were also reinstated. In another development, the federal government has approved two contracts worth 15.3 billion naira for the supply and installation of information and communication technology components as well as digital assistance devices ahead of the population and housing census slated for May 3rd through 5th. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, revealed this to newsmen shortly after the Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Shahu said among the memoranda that were okayed was the award of about 10.9 billion naira contract for the supply and installation of information and communication technology components for the 2023 population census. According to him, another contract which was approved for the National Population Commission (NPC) was a sum of about 4.4 billion naira for the development and implementation of mobile device management solution for the personal digital assistant devices to be used for the 2023 population census. In the meantime, the National Population Commission (NPC) will begin building, numbering, and household listing by April 17th before the actual census exercise in Kwara State. The State Director of NPC, Sahid Yusuf, made this known in Ilorin. Yusuf said that the building, numbering, and household listing were part of the census and would be for 5 days, April 25th through 30th. After which there would be another training before the May 3rd census. He added that training of data quality managers who was held on April 3rd and 4th, while the special workforce training for those that would assist the data managers commenced on April 5 and will end on April 7th. From the Red Chamber, Senate has indicated Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited for poor record keeping for crude oil deliveries to Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company WRPC, as well as Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company worth 102.6 billion naira. The indictment stemmed from the 2016 Auditor General report submitted and presented by Matthew Orogide, which was upheld by the Senate chamber during the plenary session. Reports say other indicted agencies are the Office of Accountant General of the Federation, National Population Commission, National Agency for the Control of AIDS FCT Area Council Service Commission, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Justice, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, among others. According to the lawmakers, the deliveries of crude oil from ex-Kravos terminal for the operation of Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company and Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company are channeled directly into the WRPC facility. While the House of Representatives has resolved to transmit a bill seeking to establish a State Security Council to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent. According to the House, the Fifth Alteration Bill 2023 had met the constitutional requirement for an amendment to the relevant parts of the 1999 Constitution. However, the Parliament mandated the clerk to the National Assembly, Sani Tambuwal, to transmit the bill to the President for his assent, in line with the provisions of the Act, Authentication Act. Recall that the National Assembly had in January transmitted 35 constitutional alteration bills passed by the State Houses of Assembly in concurrence with the National Assembly out of the 44 bills sent to the states. Away from that, the Presidential Committee on the Review of Number and Strategy for Resourcing Nigeria's Diplomatic Missions Worldwide have submitted its final report. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF Bas Mustafa, expressed confidence that the committee's observations, findings and recommendations would address some challenges confronting the diplomatic missions around the world. Mustafa also gave assurance that the report would be presented to President Muhammadu Buhari for endorsement. The SGF noted that the report would also form part of the transition document that would be handed over to the next administration as part of the successes of the present administration. On electoral matters, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has said that there is pressure on him to leave Nigeria. Obi, in a statement, accused the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) and some government agencies of trying to divert the country's attention from the ills recorded during the polls by casting aspersions on his person. The LP flag bearer went out to address the issue of a certain viral audio recording which allegedly had him speaking to a religious leader, urging clerics to act and support his ambition as a way to see that Christians win the religious war in the nation's political sphere. He called on all Nigerians and the international community to implore the APC and the APC-led government to stop their alleged attacks, adding that his focus and commitment is to lawfully and peacefully retrieve the people's mandate and to secure and unite the nation. Meanwhile, ahead of the Easter celebration, the Federal Road Safety Corps says it has set up more than 200 mobile courts to prosecute traffic offenders during the Easter special patrol operations across the nation. This is contained in a statement by the Corps' Public Education Officer, B.C. Kazim. Kazim said the mobile courts were set up towards ensuring a safe and smooth 2023 Easter celebrations. According to him, the objectives of the special operations is to reduce road traffic crashes, road traffic fatalities, and road traffic injuries. Meanwhile, the Commandant General (CG) of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC), Ahmed Audi, has ordered the deployment of 30,000 personnel nationwide to beef up security in the country ahead of the Easter celebration. The CG gave this order at the national headquarters of the Corps in Abuja, while addressing personnel of the need for effective policing of the nation against any activities of dangerous elements planning to cause the breakdown of law and order. In a communique, Audi directed all special forces in the Corps to join forces with the regular officers to ensure a hitch-free celebration across the country. According to him, the massive deployment will cover all public utilities, suspected flashpoints, worship centers, markets, recreational facilities, shopping malls, parks, gardens, and other crowded locations. In Africa, Uganda's Director of Public Prosecution has approved corruption charges against Karamoja Affairs Minister Mary Gorati Kitutu over her role in an iron sheet scandal in the northeastern region. The Speaker of Parliament and some cabinet ministers have also been mentioned in the scandal that involved the alleged theft of 5,500 iron sheets meant for disaster victims in the Karamoja region. Meanwhile, the prosecutor and Kitutu, who is currently under police detention, will today be charged in court over corruption. Reports say police have been directed to produce the minister in court for plea taking, and she is expected to spend the Easter holiday in Lusira prison, where she will be remanded by the anti-corruption court after being charged. Still in Africa, Sudanese leaders have again postponed the signing of a final agreement to re-establish a civilian government as differences within military factions intensify. Reports say talks continued overnight with negotiations centered on a draft deal that was to be signed today. Sudan has allegedly been in political crisis since October 2021, when the army overthrew a civilian government that ousted long-serving leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Last December, the military agreed on a roadmap to hand over power to civilians, but the negotiations have stalled due to disagreement over the unification of the National Army and the dreaded paramilitary Rapid Support Forces led by the deputy head of Sudan's ruling council, Mohamed Hamdan Daglo. Meanwhile, the spokesman for the talks, however, said they were still determined to reach a consensus with the military. On the foreign scene, French President Emmanuel Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to use his influence to help stop Russia's war in Ukraine. The French leader is on a state visit to China, which has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Reports say Macron is seeking to bolster trade ties. He is joined by European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, who he invited to take part in talks with Chinese leadership. The visit is being highly scrutinized after years of deteriorating relations between the West and China. The tour is expected to hold a three-way discussion with van der Leyen, who is in Beijing, on Macron's invitation. On the foreign scene, China has launched military drills in response to a much-anticipated meeting between Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. They met in California a week after President Tsai was feted in New York with a leadership award. Reports say Tsai hailed their strong and unique partnership, and McCarthy said that arms sales to Taiwan must continue. Beijing, in turn, has vowed a resolute response and sent warships into the waters around the self-governed island. Over the years, China has successfully poached many of Taiwan's former allies, whistling down the number of governments that recognize Taipei to just 13. Still to come in the news, Lampard returns to Chelsea as caretaker boss. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying with us, and we'll move on to the rest of the news stories. On a business news, the federal government has announced $800 million grant from the World Bank targeting 50 million vulnerable Nigerians or 10 million households as part of its subsidy palliatives measures ahead of the planned subsidy removal in June 2023. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, gave the announcement after the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting chaired by President Buhari. Ahmed noted that engagements are ongoing with the newly established Presidential Transition Council (PTC) and the incoming administration to drive the palliative program, which includes the need for buses among various considerations. In business, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board (NCDMB), Simbi Wabate, has performed the groundbreaking ceremony of a 7 billion naira pipe manufacturing plant at Polaku, Bayelsa State. Speaking at the event, the Executive Secretary commended the management of Energies Limited and its subsidiary on the successful takeoff of the construction work on the pipe manufacturing plant, noting that the project was in line with the mission statement of NCDMB, which is to promote the development and utilization of in-country capacities for the industrialization of Nigeria through the effective implementation of the Nigerian Content Act. According to Wabati, the pipe manufacturing plant is a testament to the giant strides in local content drive in the country. He enjoined the company's management to explore available financing options to ensure that the project would be delivered on schedule. In Hull, no fewer than 823 confirmed cases of Lassa fever have been recorded from 98 local government areas in 24 states in Nigeria. According to the Lassa fever epidemiological report for week 12 released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 144 persons have succumbed to the disease with a case fatality ratio of 17.5%. The report also showed that 38 healthcare workers have been affected so far in the year. While study has found that walking could help people keep a healthy weight, build stronger muscles and bones, and reduce their chances of developing diabetes, heart diseases, and high blood pressure. The study revealed that those who walk 8,000 steps twice weekly stand the chance of living longer. The research also indicated that walking can be linked to a better mood. According to a study by Dr. Kosuke Inobu of Kyoto University, Japan, in collaboration with researchers from the University of California, Los Angeles, United States, revealed that those who walked 8,000 steps or more a day had benefits to their cardiovascular systems. In sports, Chelsea have appointed former boss Frank Lampard as their caretaker manager until the end of the season. Chelsea owners Todd Bohill and Baghdad Eghbali said they are delighted to welcome Frank back to Stamford Bridge. Recall that this comes days after the sacking of Graham Potter. In sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria dropped from 35 to 40 in the latest FIFA World Ranking released. The ranking published on FIFA's official website saw the Super Eagles also drop to number 40. Meanwhile, the next FIFA Men's World Ranking will be published on 20th July 2023. In our entertainment news, Nigerian international sensation Rema has performed his global hit single on The Night Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Rema performed his hit singles Calm Down and Holiday on the show starring Jimmy Fallon. Recall that Holiday was recently released as Rema aims to kick off 2023 on a strong note. Still on entertainment, Forbes Africa has published its annual 30 on the 30 list, which honors outstanding young business people, innovators, and leaders. This year's list features Thames Ayra Star, Asisa Oshola, Blessing Joel, Abeng, and Chloe Coco Abiri. According to the management and managing editor of Forbes Africa, Renuka Methiel, the finalists were chosen from a group of more than 1,000 candidates, which comprised prior Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 alumni, an editorial team led by Under 30 curator Channel Retief, as well as a group of impartial external assessors and subject matter experts. And that's all we have for you this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum TV News at 4. I am Francis Adet. Many thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day.